You know, there's a certain etiquette when it comes to motorcycles, a certain amount of respect and kind of unspoken rules that we all acknowledge when it comes to other motorcyclists and things you do with your motorcycle. And I did a video about this a couple of months ago, and a lot of y'all seem to like it. But after seeing some of the videos from new riders and even seasoned riders that came out of Sturgis this past year, I thought, man, this is a perfect opportunity to cover part 2 of the 7 motorcycle etiquette or 7 motorcycle rules that we all follow. Now, this is primarily aimed at new riders, but if you don't know, you could be a seasoned rider and you just don't go to a lot of events, or maybe you don't hang out with a lot of motorcyclists, whatever. I'm just going to give you my opinion. Some of the things that I've seen, and some of the unspoken things, and some of the things that I've done myself. I've broken plenty of these that I've kind of just learned along the way. Now, the more seasoned riders out there, if you have anything else to add to this, or you want to talk about certain instances that have happened to you with one of these unspoken rules, let us know down below. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is when you're at a gas station. Now, if you're not with a group of people, typically this isn't going to be a big issue for you, but if you pull into a pump and you see that another rider is trying to get in there as well, what you don't want to do is fill your tank up and then leave your bike parked there while you go inside and flirt with the cashier or buy a bunch of drinks, take your time, when you have other people, other motorcyclists specifically, that can come in and use that pump after you finish. This is just common courtesy, and especially useful because a lot of organized rides, you guys may meet at the gas station, so everybody is fueled at the same exact time. And so you don't want to be that guy that just leaves your bike at a pump, walk inside, take your time, when other people could be filling up at the same exact time. Now, there is kind of an unspoken rule. I guess it's a little bit different, but I'll just combine it with this one as well, is sometimes you will have like seasoned riders that will actually pay for everybody in the group. Now, I guess that's gonna largely depend on how big your group is, but I know anytime me and my buddy would go to a gas station, normally one of us would pay, and then when we just pass the pump off after he filled his tank up, I would do the same on his card, and then the next time I would pay. You know, but it just comes down to common courtesy. And I know that, some of you are probably thinking, yeah, dude, yeah, we do that all the time. But common sense and just courtesy in general is really not that common. So having a little bit of thought for somebody that wants to get in behind you or whatever really does go a long way, and it can help speed up the process when you guys are going on a group ride. Now, here's one that can get you in trouble, especially at this time of year, but really this applies to any time of year, and that is checking where you're putting your kickstand down before you just walk away from your bike. Man, the place I used to work at, by the time I ended up leaving there, probably had 50 or more sinkholes from my kickstand after sitting in the sun all day, walking out to my bike, and that asphalt just gets really soft. And so luckily I never walked out and my bike was never on the ground. But if you're parking next to other bikers, you're at a rally, an event, whatever, it's one thing for your bike to fall over. It's quite another for it to fall over and hit somebody else's motorcycle. And I carry a motorcycle puck with me all the time, but there would just be times I forgot about it, to be totally honest with you. These are just little pieces of plastic that help kind of disperse the weight of your bike. They give it a solid platform, but if you don't have a motorcycle puck, that's totally fine. I mean, I've seen people use beer cans, flat rocks, cardboard. There's all kinds of things you can use, but just make sure you check the ground before you put the kickstand down. Now, one of the videos that made me think about this one specifically is if you have a breakdown. I saw a video that came from a Cycle World out in Sturgis, and he came across this biker that had a dead battery. So he was trying to help the guy out, and he was pushing him along, and the guy was acting very erratic. Now, obviously, it's very stressful. You're on your bike, you're trying to push an 800, 900 pound Harley or whatever kind of bike, right? But the guy was like hitting other motorcycles. I think he hit a trike along the way. Fortunately, the trike owner just kind of, laughed it off. No big deal. But to some people, you could have got thrown off of that bike. So in a bad situation, I know it sucks at the time and you could be really angry about what's going on and all of this kind of stuff, but you don't make it worse by putting other people, and especially other bikers, at risk or risk of hurting their property. Remember, we're not all driving around on $100 machines. We have thousands, tens of thousands, some of us, into some of these bikes. Just showing a little bit of respect goes a long way. And, fortunately, he got a push along and he got to where he needed to go eventually, but he just did not show any kind of respect for any of the other riders. It was all about him. Bikers, there's just something about motorcyclists that do not like kind of selfishness, I guess, at the end of the day, is what I'm trying to portray here. Just thinking about others and what they have invested too. It's not all about you. And on the flip side of that, something else that this same guy did is he pulled up on the biker in front of him. Now, when I say he pulled up, right, you're going to fill the gap whenever you're at one of these rallies. You're not going to have the whole road to yourself. We all understand that. But he got so close, he hit the exhaust on the bike in front of him. I think it was an Indian Scout Bobber or something. And so one of the people that was with the Scout started yelling at the guy. Like, dude, why are you pulling up so close? He's walking his bike along in the hot Sturgis sun. I get it. That sucks. But crowding people, especially people you don't know, whether it's at a rally or at a stoplight, is never something you want to do. And I think at some point, I definitely have done this before. I've had other people do it to me before, where I'm at a stoplight and another bike pulls in right beside me. I have no idea who they are. And typically, I don't really, get upset about it. Normally they just want to kind of talk and whatever. Hey, man, cool bike, blah, blah, blah. And then you go on about your day. Once I kind of learned, not everybody's looking for this deep, cool conversation about each other's bikes. I tend to give people space. And if they kind of wave me up and they want to talk or whatever, then I'm totally fine with that. Just because they're on a motorcycle, you respect them. You guys share the same kind of passion for motorcycles. That's fantastic. That doesn't mean that everybody wants you to just spark up a conversation with them just because. Some people, the joy of riding is the only kind of silent time or the only kind of meditation or the only kind of relaxing time they get. And some people just like to enjoy that by themselves, and that's totally fine. Just give them a little space. Now, here's one that you definitely don't want to do, is talk crap about somebody else's bike or the brand of motorcycle that they have. Now, of course, I'm not talking about banter back and forth between friends. That's going to happen, and rightfully so, right? But what I'm saying is, like, if you meet people at a bike night and there happens to be an Indian in the crowd, it's like, man, the turning radius on that bike, is really bad, right? Or, hey, dude, I saw that, Polaris has some really bad paint issues, or them coming up to you, everybody kind of dunks on Harley, so it's kind of get used to it. But still, the same goes for that. If you see somebody with a Honda or Kawasaki or whatever they're riding, we all have our opinions, very strong opinions. I've done some reviews on some bikes that I really did not like. And there was a lot of defenders of some of these bikes for sure, and I understand that. I've never gone up to somebody and said, man, your bike is really ugly. Again, if you're friends, totally get it. But just talking crap about other people's bikes to them, little defects or flaws or whatever, it's just not cool. Have we all at some point lied through our teeth and said a bike looks better than what we really think? Yes, but again, it's these kind of white lies that you have out of respect for a fellow biker. I have my opinions about certain motorcycles. We all do, but that doesn't mean you need to share every intrusive thought that comes into your head whenever you go to a bike night or rally or whatever. Respect other people's property, tell them it looks good, and keep on about your business. Here's another one that I think happens way too often. I recently seen this video where this guy lost control in the tail, and there was a car behind him recording through dash cam, and essentially the rider comes around one of them curves, and you could tell it had been raining, which happens a lot up there, but he came out of a turn and was literally on the painted lines right there. He ended up losing control, and him and his passenger ended up falling off the bike. Now, to me, the car looked like they were following way too close, and the biker probably felt pressured a little bit to an extent that he needs to be able to keep up the pace. And so this can happen in group rides or just, solo riding with somebody behind you. But the last thing you want to do is overextend yourself and your riding ability. There might be cool points on social media for who can ride the best, who rides the tail the fastest and all this, but at the end of the day, it seriously does not matter. You need to be able to enjoy your ride. And sometimes it comes down to just telling certain people no. You probably know somebody or have met somebody that just likes to ride fast. That's their thing. They want to ride fast, and maybe that makes you uncomfortable. But being pressured to ride outside of your limits, it can not only hurt you, can also hurt your passenger, can shut down an entire road. It's just not worth it. Think about how many accidents could literally be avoided if people just had a little bit more patience and waited 10 more seconds. If you have somebody pressuring you on one of these, high traffic roads like the tail or any number of roads, I see absolutely zero shame in just pulling over and letting people pass. If you're riding with a rider that is more experienced, has more experience on that specific road, let them take the lead. Say, hey, I'm gonna take the back. That way you can do your thing and I'm gonna do mine. To me, there is no shame in telling somebody, hey man, I'm gonna ride my own ride. I've never been on this road, or I'm just not comfortable. I wanna get used to it, whatever the case is. Pride is one of those things that can get you hurt on a motorcycle for sure. Enjoy your ride. Pull over. Let other people pass you if that's what it takes. But enjoy your ride. Don't be pressured to overextend your abilities. And the last one is very common. I mean, especially on social media. And that is telling other people what you do when you're on your bike. And most of the time you'll see people that are driving their car or the truck, and they'll confront some, maybe younger kid or whatever, and they'll say, man, I've been riding for 35 years and you're going to end up getting yourself hurt or worse. And, I ride my Harley like this and you should be like this. And, unless somebody is putting you at risk, which, then I kind of understand this. But if they're just doing their own thing, if they're not hurting anybody, if they're riding outside of your comfort zone, you're not even on a motorcycle, you don't even know them, I fail to see what business that is of yours. Again, unless they're putting you or your family or somebody at risk, then I understand it. But I've never had the inclination when I see somebody that's being dumb on a motorcycle, if I'm on my motorcycle or if I'm in my truck, to stop them and say, hey man, you're riding like an idiot. They may listen to a close friend that tells them that, but the chances of you making some kind of a difference to them is slim to none. They're probably going to say, hey, I don't know you, you don't know me, back off. You have a lot of people that just are so anxious to get into other people's business. It's really none of yours. Just because you do ride a motorcycle doesn't mean you have to insert yourself into situations that you don't necessarily need to be in. If somebody asks for your advice or you have legitimate advice, again, these are two totally different things, but just scolding people because they don't ride like you want them to ride is absolutely silly. And the last thing is, if you're in your car or truck, you're not riding your bike that day, and you see a biker coming up and they're lane splitting, even in a state where lane splitting isn't legal, give them some room. First of all, they're going to do it anyways, and you know why they're doing it. They end up getting pulled over or whatever. We all have kind of taken that risk at one point or another, but if you understand that, hey, lane splitting is actually safer for motorcyclists, and then you want to kind of crowd the lane because you're not on your bike and you got to sit in traffic, that kind of thing, just give them room. No matter if you're in your car, truck, or you're on your motorcycle, give people enough room. Even if they're doing something you don't necessarily agree with, like lane splitting. There you go. Those are 7 more examples of motorcycle etiquette that we all must follow. And the majority of us do. We just happen to see some of the worst sides of the internet because of how social media works. I'd love to hear some examples of people breaking motorcycle etiquette that maybe got you really upset, or you've seen somebody respecting motorcycle etiquette that impressed you. Give me an example of both if you have them, or leave your own list down below. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. See you in the next one, and as always, hold 'em down.